All right, we are live. You can start, Matthias.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this Product People event. I just want to remind you, we will stream this event on YouTube, and also for you guys, visit our YouTube page afterwards so you can share it with your friends or watch it again. If you have any questions or want to answer our polls, we also have a Slido, so feel free to scan the QR code or go to slido.com and type in your code. Now, what is today about? Today, we will hear about product-led growth, decoded, grow your product and your revenue, presented by Maria Thomas, who is a CPO at Rebrandly. Now, before I hand it over to you, Maria, I will quickly introduce myself and Product People. Now, for myself, I am Matthias Ladstätter, Associate Product Management Consultant with over 3 years of experience in product management and product operations, having worked in B2B and B2C, having gathered experience in subscription management, product discovery, delivery, product lifecycle, data analysis, and UX and UI, with a background in business administration. Now, what do we do? How does Product People make its money? We are a interim product management consultancy. We do product ops and transformation acceleration services via our in-house staff. We also like to give back. How do we do that? We host free events and talks for one of Europe's largest product management communities with over 50,000 members. We also want to get to know you a little bit. We also have a Slido for that. So you can scan the code here or go to slido.com and type in the code and answer our question, which best describes your current relationship with product-led growth? A, I directly lead product-led growth initiatives. B, I work on product teams exploring and implementing PLG strategies. C, I support PLG initiatives. Or D, I'm interested in learning more about PLG opportunities. I'll give you a couple seconds to choose your answer before I hand over to our speaker. All right, we have our first numbers coming in.
Exciting to see that there's a lot of interest and also a lot of PLG folks on the stream.
Yes, and it seems like the majority of people listening already lead PLG initiatives directly.
Fantastic.
Great. So we have 76% of people leading PLG initiatives. Great to hear. Okay. We will continue and I will hand over to you, Maria, and give you.
All right. Thanks, Matthias. It's great to see you all, product people. My name is Maria, and I will lead us in the PLG Decoded workshop conversation We'll share some of the best practices and lessons that I learned in PLG first or PLG second companies. From that poll, I am definitely an A. So I'm a person who leads product strategy, but also leads product-led growth. And I am typically accountable for revenue goals in companies associated with product growth. All right. I'm gonna make sure, sorry, just a second. I'm trying to get my slides moved. All right. Here we go. All right. So we'll have about 20, 25 minutes of content. And then, of course, I'm really looking forward to everyone's questions. So here's what we're going to cover. We're going to talk about PLG, product-led growth, motion decoded, the definitions, some of the myths, some of the best practices. We'll definitely touch on things like what are the right North Star metrics? What are some of the great KPIs? And then I'll share some of the practical lessons from delivering successful PLG motions in SaaS companies, from how to set up an effective collaboration with your marketing team, how to help marketing teams set goals around PLG, same for product teams, various lessons learned, and perhaps a valuable topic for those of you who are just learning about product and product-led is the Growth PM Survival Guide. So many of you have probably been maybe recently tapped on the shoulder and asked to lead a growth initiative. I'm going to share some of the recommendations for how to do it effectively. All right. I am currently a CPO, a Chief Product Officer at Rebrandly. It's a leading link management platform. I also led product at Buffer, previously a well-known social media platform, a couple of other startups. And prior to that, half of my career I actually spent in large companies such as Intuit and Microsoft. With that, I'll take us through the content. So, all right. So product-led growth. What is product-led growth? Let's just start with the basic definition. Product-led growth is effectively your product leading the sale, right? Like leading the monetization of your product. And it's contrasted with SLG, sales-led growth, which was a more typical SaaS approach before PLG really burst on the scene as the predominant method for how we now monetize SaaS offerings. It is hard to find a successful SaaS company that is not using some element of product-led growth. It's all the concepts around freemium, try before you buy, having ability to walk through a demo of a product. But one of my key theses for this presentation and in general is that too often companies set their goals around PLG strictly on revenue numbers, and they don't talk enough about the virality aspect and how important it is to unleash your users' potential to expand your growth. It's not just about you taking every single product sign up as a product leader and turning it into a paid subscriber. It's really about that virality. And in a nutshell, it's about every single user coming through your platform having a delightful user experience, fully understanding the value that your product will bring. Because even if they don't potentially themselves upgrade, maybe they will recommend your product to somebody else. So we'll talk about specific ways to execute that strategy. So now let's talk about various PLG myths versus PLG success. So here's some of the common misconceptions that product teams own PLG. I have seen it set up in some companies where the growth function is not particularly well defined, and effectively product managers are made accountable for growth. A successful PLG motion is where product teams and marketing teams are very much aligned, and both marketing and product have growth objectives that are aligned. Let me give you an example when it fails or doesn't work. Imagine as a product team, you are trying to introduce your users to aha moments and get them upgraded, while your marketing team is putting on your hero image on the homepage, talk to sales. So if the primary CTA on the marketing website talk to sales, while in product it's upgrades via self-service, then there's really no coherence in your strategy, and you're going to be in constant conflicts. Another common misconception is that PLG starts in product post sign up. Yes, to a degree, at the point of the handoff from marketing team to product, that's when we start really activating user and positioning them for success. But it's really important to extend your PLG motion to brand awareness and organic marketing channels. By organic marketing channels, I mean things like social, community, content marketing, just brand awareness in general. It really needs to be very clear, not just to your users and product, but to the entire market, that it's easy to use your product, it's really easy to get onboarded, and it's certainly very easy to become a paying customer. Also, very commonly, we see that PLG motions are set with the North Star metric of revenue. And of course, revenue is the ultimate goal. But my recommendation is to make sure that the growth teams on the product side, they're very closely watching your MAU metric, your monthly active users. Because if your strategy is not about gaining market share, then it's possible that you're focusing yourself on a more narrow market, and therefore maybe PLG motion is not even the right approach for you. The successful PLG motions assume that there is ability to monetize a large sign-up user base or monthly active user base. And then sometimes I've also seen motions set up where PLG is everyone's accountability, just as with cleaning the house. If you make everyone in the family accountable for cleaning versus pointing to someone, it often fails. So I always recommend having more specific growth PM on the product team and it's their accountability to maniacally experimenting and driving growth, and that's what they really obsess about, and treat it as a product in and of itself. All right. So again, I already touched a little bit on the previous legacy models where the focus was really strongly on every sign up must become a converted paid customer right now. And one of the important things to understand about PLG motion is that you need to have patience. You need to have ability to wait for that product sign up to become a paid customer potentially down the road. You may or may not have a freemium model, you may or may not have trial, but generally speaking, users, simply put, need ability to spend time with your product versus parting with putting their credit card through and paying for product right away. So let's see. Another misconception is or the legacy growth goal is that there's a lot of focus on pricing tweaks, and pricing is incredibly important, and that's a really significant portion of PLG motion, getting your good, better, best right, making sure you have strong price value equivalence, making sure that your plans are optimized for optimal distribution of purchase. But what I encourage teams to focus on is go beyond pricing, because too often we obsess about optimizing just the pricing page and just the entitlements, and sometimes forget that even though the features may be very well presented on the pricing page, they may not be as evident in product UX. So UX really needs to be congruent with what kind of features you're trying to promote as a product. And again, the ultimate goal is definitely always going to be the flywheel. It's the long-term effect of PLG engine, and not that, again, every single sign-up becomes a converted paying customer. All right. Now I'm going to switch topic a little bit and talk about setting goals and collaboration, especially in the relationship between marketing teams and product teams. In general, I'm a very big advocate for strong collaboration and partnership between product and marketing. I don't think it works if marketing or product teams' goals are not aligned. And especially when it comes to growth motions, it's essential that two teams are very much aligned and effectively have the same goals. So for those of you who have a sales team in your company, most everyone would have a marketing team, but for those of you who have sales, we're all familiar with a long-standing understanding that there's always going to be some kind of battle between a sales team and a marketing team, where marketing team is telling sales team, hey, I'm sending you all these leads. The sales team pushes back, yes, thank you, but These leads are not converting. These are not the right leads. Well, we've just now opened a new frontier of new battles between product leaders and marketing leaders. And it doesn't have to be combative, but I think it's a healthy tension, because marketing teams being incentivized on driving product signups, and if that's the only goal that they have, they will keep driving the volume, right? And then us on the PLG side, on the product side, we're the ones catching those signups, and we need to make sure we can activate them and convert them to paid. We really need to work together with the marketing team to, again, make sure that the leads they're sending us or the product signups are of high quality, that they match our ICP, our ideal customer profile, or generally are interested in our product and will eventually convert. Some of the practical advice I strongly recommend that every single week, people involved in growth meet in the format of a workshop. In fact, right before this live stream, I came out of the Rebrandly growth workshop. And in that meeting, we had marketing, product people, data people, and finance. And we are hands-on discussing, looking at data, reviewing experiments, and really workshopping what's the next growth opportunity we're going to explore, and how we're going to not only strategize around it, but execute it as well. Number 2, recommendation for marketing and product collaboration. My strong perspective, is that product marketing needs to be in every single product roadmap discussion and in strategy meeting with product, full stop. I have never seen a reason why it would be necessary to silo out product marketers out of product roadmap discussions. I think it's very effective for those two teams to be as close together as possible. All right, as far as goal setting, we touched on this already. Marketing teams in PLG motion typically focus on driving new signups, right? So from the web traffic that they receive, what percentage of those they can convert to sign up for product. And but they also need to have control metrics. These signups that they acquire need to be able to activate and ultimately pay, while product teams focus on activation, retention, conversion to new signups. And again, reminder that even though that signup may not have converted, you are still paying attention to them, and really paying close attention to not just the ones who converted, but the ones who didn't. And it's incredible what teams learn when they go back to people who churned out of from being activating a product but not ultimately paying, and understanding their reasons for doing so. Let's talk about marketing. So go-to-market teams. So in a successful PLG motion, from what I've seen, these are the most successful channels to drive that sustainable growth. And not surprisingly, you'll see organic channels that are listed here in the graphic. So content marketing. Content marketing is absolutely essential. It is not entirely free, not at all. It takes resources, dedication, and time. But successful blogs have been very instrumental in being able to bring that SEO volume and magic to SaaS companies' websites. My advice on content marketing, and there's lots of debates around quality and quantity, is that quantity matters as well. There's a lot of discussion about quality, but if you look at the best-in-class SaaS PLG companies, they're publishing a blog post minimum twice a week. Some of them maybe even more often. I think community is essential, and the nice thing about community is that it's a channel that is not going to suddenly disappear with a change of a Google algorithm. Once you've established your community, it is yours. There are many methods for how you can engage with your community. You can use Slack, Discord, other means. You can even just simply actively engage with customer reviews for your Chrome extensions, mobile apps, or G2 Crowd, etc. But please watch over your community, because if you're not talking to them, they're possibly sharing negative feedback on dark social, and it will only hurt you in the long run. Social media converts. It's an essential organic channel for PLG. Share consistently and optimize for conversion. And now the most important channel that people don't always talk about when it comes to growth: product launches. So team, I know as product leaders, we often set goals for launches around retention, or we must do this, or this is table stakes. I do think that it's really important to raise the bar and challenge ourselves that every launch should be a driver of new user acquisition. Please consider it. Set goals around how many new users we're going to acquire with every single launch, and work with your marketing team for that optimization. All right, for product teams, here's my top advice when it comes to product-led growth. Please remember, the flywheel will not build itself. Help your marketing teams. Very often we see that product teams are overly focused on the product roadmap. Marketing team needs help. They may or may not have engineering or design resources. You need to help them, because the more people that are coming in into your website and learning about your product, the more successful you're going to be downstream. So that's what I advise, and also suggest, to build small elements of value pre-sign up, right? So there are a lot of opportunities with this. For instance, GoDaddy helps you search for a custom domain. Rebrandly helps you shorten a link. Buffer helps you optimize your social post using AI. There are lots and lots of clever companies who have figured out how to offer a tiny bit of value even before sign up that drives traffic to your website, that ultimately helps your funnel. Again, we talked about North Star being MAU, monthly active users, and of course your control metrics are around revenue, launches, features that drive new user acquisition. Data is essential. Having reliable data, and ideally everyone involved in growth in your company has access to stable, reliable, democratized data tools, and everyone from PMs, designers, and engineers are able to pull up metrics quickly. Let's see. On the UX side, team, there's really no excuse these days not to have consumer-grade UX. Again, as you look to best practices and the successful PLG companies, their UX is stellar at this point. So please borrow and steal and get inspired by Notion, Canva, Slack. Incredible inspiration for consumer-grade UX, very important for virality of your product. All right. And then before we go into the Growth Product Manager Survival Guide, a couple of other lessons learned in PLG first companies. Let's see. The top recommendation is keep it simple when it comes to growth. So keep it simple for your users and yourself, or you will drown in complexity. Examples of overly complicated growth motions. Ahead of its time, before everything else is optimized, launching regional pricing plans. Ahead of its time, launching nuanced trial implementations for every single plan. Maybe even like, again, sophisticated pricing opportunities. All of these are fantastic ideas if you have a really great foundation for how you measure growth, for your data, for you fully understand what your levers are. Jumping into those optimizations oftentimes is too premature. Number two is your activation rate. So it's pretty typical to see from product teams that the new user activation rate is 30% or 35% or higher. What is activation rate? Activation rate is your new user came in and then they experienced an aha moment and they're considered activated. Well, the definition of activation may need refinement, team, because too often I see that these metrics are set up too generously. You're either our next unicorn if, in fact, a third of your users are actually fully activated, or you need to refine your activation metric to be a little bit less generous. So a classic example from Meta in the early days from Facebook was that I think it was something like 5. Once you've invited 5 friends to your profile, then you considered activated. Notice that it's 5 and not 1, whatever that number was. And the other one, the important one, is also reliable data, accessible across organization, and robust data stack. Here I endorse some of the data tool stack that I particularly enjoy: Mixpanel, ChartMogul for ARR, MRR reporting, which helps you understand your expansion opportunity, your contraction and churn segment for your data stack. And on the client side analytics, so these are tools that help you observe user behavior. I think they're incredibly valuable, but please keep in mind that they're blocked by ad blockers for 20 to 30% of users. So it's hard to run statistical analysis and proper A/B testing if you are strictly relying on client-side analytics tools. I already touched on UX, that being incredibly important. And finally, I encourage everyone in the PLG first company to step into each other's shoes a little bit. So for example, I think go-to-market teams are most successful and most productive if they can get involved with dog fooding the product, testing, QAing product. They would really understand the customer pain points. And same with engineering, product, and design teams. They can actually help marketing teams with content. For instance, you can share on social, building in public, and help create that flywheel, or engage with community and talk to customers. Of course, very important. All right, we're almost at the end of the content, so I just wanted to congratulate everyone who is perhaps new to a Growth PM function. This is just some, again, practical advice, and most importantly, don't panic. I think it's actually really, really great that product managers have been made accountable to revenue. I carry a revenue goal for my company and for other companies where I worked, and I think it makes sense because at the end of the day, that connection between user value and business outcomes is really essential for product managers to understand. So let's say you've just been made a growth PM. Ultimately, you're really doing three things. You are mastering your metrics and data. You are building an experimentation engine, an ability to test which lever are we pulling for ultimate success. And of course, you are connecting and collaborating not only with internal stakeholders, but also with your users. And on the right-hand side of that slide, I captured also some suggestions for those of you who are maybe really need to get scrappy with your growth motion. You may not have reliable data or long history of data, or maybe data existed, but wrong events were instrumented, or the events that you really needed were not instrumented. So you will be doing a lot of manual tracking and conversion funnel analytics, and you can still do it even with observational tools that are client-side. Still run your weekly metrics review, try to run monthly deep dives. Ultimately, it will lead to a strong growth motion. Let's say you don't have a testing engine that is nice and tidy that allows you to run A/B tests very successfully. Test anyway, sequentially roll out updates. That's called the scrappy poor man's test, right? So let's say you deploy or release one version of your pricing page or your onboarding for a period of 2 weeks, measure, and then you go with the option B later, and you compare how those performed over time. Not the best practice, but that's a scrappy way if in the absence of a proper A/B test tool or A/B test infrastructure. And if let's say you don't have help on data, don't have a data science or data analytics team, or maybe you don't currently have user talk to user processes established. Again, I just recommend to get scrappy and learn from observational tools. If in the absence of data, you can don't hesitate to reach out to customers. I have never had a hard time getting some customers to talk to me and the team if we directly email them. So I highly recommend that. And then, in the absence of dashboards, just use a simple spreadsheet. But you have to plant that tree at some point and start really measuring success of your motion. All right. We can probably, Matthias, now switch more to questions. Here I put together just some of the more common questions that I get. Some of them are around strategy, some are around methods, and many about pricing. But I'll leave it to you and see what questions we get.
Okay, thank you very much. I will pull up our QR code Thank you very much, Maria. It was really insightful. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. For everybody listening, we're now going to the Q&A part of our session. So you can type in your question by scanning the QR code or going to slido.com and putting in the code. Again, I will give you a few seconds to scan the code. And while you type your questions, I will tell you a little bit more about product people. So use cases, also known as when to engage us. So first of all, interim fractional product management, or if you need a product leader, we do permanent position covers. So while you're hiring, as it often takes quite a while to find somebody, B, parental leave covers for 3 to 12 months, or important or urgent initiatives. If you want to drive product discovery or delivery, or build an MVP, or develop strategy and a roadmap. Second, we do program management or product operations. So we will upskill your product management team and create and streamline processes for you from 0 to 1 or in hypergrowth or scale ups. And we thirdly, we do transformation acceleration. So if you want to do a shift from sales or tech-led to product-led, or configure your product strategy and team structure. Now, just to highlight a couple of clients we have worked for on the B2C side, clients such as Talando, Tier, Scout24, FreeNow, DeepL, Ecosia, Blinkist, and many more. And the B2B side, we have worked with Pliant, the World Health Organization, Ometria, Eterno, and Remote. So just to give you some more product people stats, we have worked with over 300 cross-functional teams for over 70 clients, from Series A startups to publicly listed companies. We have 42 product leaders and product managers. We are in-house and full-time employed to ensure quality of service for our clients and a strong career development path for our team members. We also have 62% of women in our team, and even more, we have 66% in leadership. We have a strong bias to promote from within our firm and attract more women than the tech industry average, thanks to our skills before CV hiring process. Now, thank you for listening, and I will start with our questions now. So for you, Maria, what critical area of product development should companies prioritize in the next 12 to 18 months due to evolving market and customer expectations?
That's a great one. What we are already prioritizing, and what I see many of my peers and partners, especially on the go-to-market side, prioritize for the next 12 to 18 months. Team, the SEO, SEM channel and motion is changing. It has been changing for a long time. Those of you who are on the go-to-market side know full well how a small algorithm change on the Google side can have a significant effect on your growth. Well, we are now in the next and highly accelerated chapter of that change. So what I would strongly recommend for SaaS companies, especially with reliant on strong top of the funnel, right? So people coming into your website in high volume, is to take a really critical look at how and where are you acquiring users, and what are some of those most stable channels of user acquisition. Hence, consider going back to that framework, which ones are earned channels, which ones really belong to the Googles of the world or the Metas of the world, or the ones that you actually earned and belong to you. So strengthen your community. I can't stress that enough. Consider opening new channels of user acquisition that are more reliable and stable than Google search, right? AI is fully transforming that channel. And we are all trying to figure out how to be a first response in all the primary LLM common platforms. So that's where the growth is heading. Ultimately, your buyers are asking AI which products and companies to consider for a particular use case. So make sure that your value proposition is incredibly clear, because at the end of the day, LLM is also reading your website, and it needs to very easily and quickly understand what they should be recommending to to its users. Listen to me talking to AI as if it's a human, but that's the age that we live in. All right, so that's number one. Channels of user acquisition team, they're fundamentally changing. Stay really focused on that.
Okay, thank you very much. Second question. Can you describe a time when you had to change your growth strategy due to unexpected market changes or user feedback? What did you learn from that experience?
Great question. What have I learned from experience of a growth strategy changing from unexpected market changes or user feedback? I think the biggest lesson that I've learned is humility. No matter how experienced we growth people come across, or the decades of experience we may have, it ultimately really depends on a particular product, on a particular use case, on a particular market. So be wary of us people migrating from company to company with sort of these strong preconceived ideas for what exactly will unlock growth. Really, only data at scale can tell you the answer. So the classic example that I use here is the lesson learned. I learned about implementing a buy now button right on the marketing pricing page. I was really against it. It didn't make sense to me philosophically. I was really firm on no, we should be getting people into product versus asking for credit card upfront. Well, according to data, once we ran a test, the buy now button started contributing to 10% of all paid subscriptions very quickly. So lesson learned, humility team. That's my number one advice. Don't get stuck in your opinions, and just try to test things even though they don't seem logical or intuitive.
Okay, yeah. Thank you for that answer. Another question. What framework or decision-making process do you find most effective for balancing innovation with maintaining and improving existing product lines?
Really good question. That's the science and art of a balanced roadmap, right? So we need to look at our existing features, and the first question I would ask is, well, how well are all of our various features adopted across the customer user base? How much are they being used? And really ask yourself, listen to your users. Go back to NPS survey. Listen to churning users. If you have a really strong signal from your customers that there are 1, 2, 3 things that they really wish they need, I would listen to that and prioritize that strongly. If you look at your customer feedback and your community suggestions and see that there's more of a spread, that features are, the feature requests are really, to use a technical term, more peanut butter spread all over the place, then then do consider that. Okay, is there something here we can do with existing features and put them more forward as a strategy? But ultimately, the decision to expand into a new use case, it should be made once you believe that you've reached saturation of your current market and potential. Then also using a classic product management framework, you look to use cases either to the left of what users do before your product experience or after, and consider expanding. But make sure that your core offering is in stable state, that it's well optimized, you have strong product market fit, and that you have ability to really go beyond the core use case.
Okay, thank you. One more question. What is one moonshot idea you would pursue to change how users interact with products in your industry if you had unlimited resources?
Yeah, that's a really good question and a tough one. And again, I do think it depends on the product. As a product leader, I've worked at for products, and also have dreamt of products where they ultimately have there's two sides of the spectrum. You have products where you almost want to be completely out of the way of your user life, so kind of the set it and forget it approach, right? So it's all about time savings. It's all about not being in the way of your customer and just being helpful in the background, right? On the other hand, especially through the lens of growth, you don't want to be a monthly active use product. You want to be a daily active use product, right? So you want to be, wouldn't we all want to have products that our users, customers, buyers were in every single day and spend, hours at a time? So I guess as far as the if I had unlimited resources, I would really have to ponder, which path I would take as far as the, being so efficient that I'm completely out of sight for the customers. It depends on your use case, or is it really about being in your customer face, sort of literally and figuratively, every single minute of the day? I just think it really depends on who the customer is. Consumers, daily active use, probably, and then businesses, it's a balance. I think I would want them to gain the time savings to do things that they enjoy doing in their life, but at the same time, also being in product enough to learn about what we're shipping and what value we're providing. But that would be a dream, is that if we could just deliver that value so seamlessly to our customers that they would instantly understand and know that, great, the product XYZ has just made my life so much easier.
Yeah, sounds like a good dream. How do product or how do growth teams work alongside product teams? Do they usually have dedicated teams like developers and data, or do they have to share?
Yeah. My perspective is that if you don't have a dedicated growth EPD team, engineering, product, and design team, then your growth motion is not going to be as successful. I think it's imperative to have people who are very focused. It is their job, it is their accountability. And again, they're maniacally obsessed with things like onboarding, sign up experience, billing, upgrade paths, your critical aha moments, unlock of next level value, pricing and packaging. That is such a large portion. To be honest, like, it's a significant part of the product experience. And I think that it's important to set it up in a way that the team is just as excited to work on growth as they would on the next greatest innovation for the product roadmap. Because at the end of the day, it is user experience, and it is a product in and of itself within your web app or mobile app or what have you for the primary interface. So the way that I've set it up in companies is always having a dedicated growth EPD team, dedicated growth designer, dedicated growth product manager, tech lead, and engineers, depending on org structure, supporting just product or hopefully both product and marketing. That's what I find most efficient.
Okay, thank you. So coming to our last three questions now. Can we explore product-led growth in B2B SaaS? I find it hard to see similarities to B2C and feel a completely different approach is needed.
Well, I'm going to have to challenge this one big time. PLG has been used and is successfully used in B2B SaaS, or has been for the last 10 years. So again, like let's look to the companies that have grown tremendously, right? Everyone from Atlassian to Notion to Slack, all of these companies have successful freemium offerings, trials. These are all components of product-led growth. Again, what is product-led growth in its, like, if we kind of boil it down to its essence, it's companies' products allowing a user to basically try before you buy in its most, like, in the essence of it, right? It's the experience the product value, get excited, versus having to talk to a salesperson to give you a demo, right? And I think a lot of us are thinking about how to bring the delayed experience, delayed gratification of sales, go through sales journey to get it as close to PLG as possible. And no excuse team these days, even if you tell me that, oh, my product is too complicated to offer in a trial or a freemium, they're excellent demo tools. They're great tools that can set up custom test environment for your customers if your product is truly so complex. So I think you probably maybe even using PLG, maybe you just don't know about it. That's how
Yeah,
I
I mean, totally makes sense. Do you have a suggestion of what kind of pricing structure is best suited for PLG?
Yeah, so again, team, without overcomplicating it and sticking with the basics, generally speaking, you will decide as a company and as a PLG growth team whether you want to have freemium or not. I think that again, I would challenge that notion. I think almost every company can come up with an approach to having some freemium offering. But let's put that aside. Let's not assume there's a freemium motion. What is the best pricing structure optimized for PLG? So again, what you're trying to do is you're trying to create your pricing plans and offerings that fit your customers on a different part of their customer journey and growth, right? So let's say you are a B2B SaaS company and you are servicing both micro startups and then mid-market and maybe larger companies. We'll make sure that there's a pricing structure that's aligned to their needs. For PLG, please remember that there's a ceiling for how much you can charge on the credit card. It has to be below 10K US dollars, 10,000 US dollars. So I guess beyond that, you will have to pass your product qualified lead to your sales team for further upsell. But generally speaking, the classic good, better, best pricing plans, have your basic plan, have your slightly better plan, and then a really great plan. And again, they would still fit somewhere under 10,000 USD or euro. And then if you have an offering that's more expensive than that, then it typically gets passed to the sales team to close bigger deals and contracts.
Okay, thank you. Now, last question from one of our listeners. Can you speak to that transformation from SLG to PLG after, say, 10 years in a company's life cycle? Can you get there with scrappy growth initiatives?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I have very much led that transformation of a purely SLG company. That company only had enterprise offering and no PLG whatsoever, no ability to swipe a credit card. And is there scrappy growth initiatives that can help unlock that growth? Absolutely. I would start small. I would start testing, setting up that engine for ability to self-serve pay for the product, right? So maybe the first step is actually, even though the salespeople are involved, maybe sending a buyer to still, fill out contracts within the product experience, right? So maybe once they've closed a contract through sales motion, they can still expand through product. Maybe that's your first step. But honestly, the biggest time-consuming task of moving from purely SLG to having both is going to be in stakeholder management team. It is very hard for companies to make that leap of faith that we can embrace PLG without cannibalizing our sales. It's a really hard decision to make. And the more you can structure your initiative to head into PLG as an important strategy that you committed to, but also as ability to experiment and see if it unlocks, the more it will help you. But do expect that you will spend a lot of time in debates whether adding PLG motion has really helped you. The challenge here is simply that PLG takes time to, because it's a compounding effects motion. So it's not going to bring results in a month or a quarter. You have to wait for 6 to 12 months to see for PLG motion to really succeed and become a major revenue driver.
Okay. Thank you so much, Maria, for taking the time to answer those questions. I think that's it for the Q&A. Just as a quick information for everybody, we are hiring. If you're interested to get into product management, you can scan the QR code that's shown in the presentation, or you can subscribe to our newsletter if you want to receive inspiring product stories and insights in your inbox. So what's next? Next week, Tuesday, February the 18th, we will talk about how to escape the play Safe Trap with Julian Bodin. And yeah, that's it. And have a great evening. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you very much, Maria. It was a pleasure having you
Thanks.
and hearing your wisdom.